So we're going to talk about the first of a handful of string functions in this video. The string function we're starting with is called concat, which is short for concatenate, or combining strings or combining text together. Now, recall that there's a bunch of these functions. They all have to do with text. If we go to the docs and you click on concat, you'll see an example of it, but what you won't see is an example using any data, any tables. Instead, you'll see something like this: select, concat, and then just some text that's put in there. Now, this is kind of odd, but it's totally valid. In the same way that I showed you way early on, we can do something like this: select 1 plus 4 and use SQL as a calculator. It's clunky, it's weird, but we get 5 as the result. So most of what we're going to be doing with concat is working with a table and concatenating different pieces of text together from a table from different rows. But we could start by doing something simple and concatenating two pieces of text or random text together that has nothing to do with a real table full of data. So concat will take, if I just type it out here, inside of parentheses, any number of strings or pieces of text, like let's just do some letters, H, and then E, and then L, just like that. We're going to do hello, but I ran out of patience, so instead we're stuck with hell. And if I hit enter here, what we end up with is the concatenated result of those three text pieces, those three strings, shoved together to form one piece of text. Now, why would we do that? We probably wouldn't do it this way. We wouldn't just go through all this work when I could have just done this, right? Select HEL. That would have been a lot easier if I had my semicolon, and we get the same end result. But where it does become useful is if we're working with real data. So we have our author first name, or F name, and author L name for last name. Let's combine them together to get an author full name. So we would concatenate the first name with the last name. And as I said, what if we wanted full names? We would use concat. And all these built-in functions I'm showing you, this term function means some sort of built-in repeatable operation. And we will always have parentheses after the name of the function. And then any values that we want to pass in will go inside the parens separated by commas, as we've already seen, right? H, comma, E, comma, L inside of the parentheses. And if you miss those parentheses, you're not going to have a good time. You'll get an error. As you can see here, it thinks concat is a column name, but really it's supposed to be a function name, but MySQL doesn't know that if we don't have the parens. So we can concatenate one column with another column, and that's exactly what I want to do. Concat author F name with author L name. So let's try that. Select. We still have to do select also, right? If we just do concat, something like this, it doesn't work. That's not valid SQL. We have to have a select in there to get any results. So select concat author F name, and let's just start simple and put a couple exclamation points at the end, from books. And here we go. We see Jhumpa, Neil, Dave, Michael, Patty, and so on. So we've concatenated every author's first name with 3 exclamation points. But that's not what I want to do. I want to instead concatenate the first name with the last name. Author underscore L name. Just make sure I have the correct column names. And I'll hit enter. And we're getting close. We have Jhumpa Lahiri, Neil Gaiman, Dave Eggers, which, it's first name and last name together. That's what we said to do. There's no space, though. And we probably would want a space in there if we were working with full names. Now, right now, what we're doing is simply going through these string functions and seeing how they work. Is this a useful operation? Maybe, maybe not. Would we need a list of full names just like this? Who knows? But for now, let's say that's what our end goal is. We want a list of full names and nothing else. Well, what I can do is concatenate author F name, author L name with a space in the middle. So I can put as many things as I want in here. I can hard code a string, like an empty string or a space between the first name and the last name. Or I could put another column name in there too if I wanted, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just do a space. And now when I hit enter, we have Jhumpa Lahiri, Dave Eggers, Patty Smith. One thing also that's a little annoying is that the column name here is really nasty because it's not an existing column. It's not as if we just did select author L name from books, because that is the actual column name and that's what we asked for. But here we asked for this whole thing for each row. And so the column name it's not nice to look at, and there's a way better name for that. Why not just full name or author name or something like that? We know how to rename a column in our results using as. We can give it an alias. So I'll recall that line, and then right after my concat, I'll say as with one S, as, and then how about just author name? And there we are. We get author name and the same results. It's just has a different title now instead of concat author F name space author L name. So that's the basic or a basic usage of concat. It will take whatever values we pass to it, whatever column names or whatever strings or pieces of text, and combine them to form a single string for each row, of course. So again, author F name with a space, author L name would give us Dave Eggers and Jhumpa space Lahiri. And then we can simply select that from a table, which is what we've already done. But there's another flavor of concat, which is concat WS, and there is an underscore there. And it doesn't stand for white space. It is with separator. So this works a little differently. It's the same concept. It will concat whatever we tell it to, but we first provide as that first value, what we call the first argument, we provide a separator. And whatever that separator character is, will be smushed between every other value. So let me show that. Without even working with a table, let's just do a select concat underscore WS. And let's do something like an exclamation point. And then in here, I'll do hi, bye, LOL. I don't know, a couple of strings. So if I select that, what do we end up with? Hi, bye, LOL. Well, LOL doesn't have an exclamation point. It is only going to be inserted, that exclamation point, between each piece of information, not afterwards and not before the hi. So if we compare that with just a regular concat, we end up with all of those pieces of text smushed together. Nothing changed, just cram them together as is. But when we add with separator, WS, that first value is the separator character, and that is smushed between each of the subsequent values, and that's how we get hi, exclamation, bye, exclamation, LOL. Okay, so we could use this to do something like create a unique slug, basically part of a URL that contains the title, the author F name, and the author L name, all separated by a dash. So why don't we try that? We'll do a select, and I'll do this on a separate line, sure. Concat WS. I want to separate them using a dash, or is that a hyphen? I never remember, but whatever that is, that line character. We'll take the title, and then the author F name, and the author L name from books. And there we go. We get the namesake, Jhumpa Lahiri, and there are spaces in our book name, so it doesn't exactly work, right? Because this wouldn't be a valid URL. We will learn how we could possibly replace spaces later on. But for now, this is fine. It's a silly example just to show that if we use concat WS, whatever separator we provide will be inserted between each of our concatenated pieces of text. All right, that's concat and concat WS.